Hello, yet again. It's time for another Lafayette-Lehigh Rivalry Yuengling Month video. And here's another Yuengling. This is the fourth installment of the video series. As I told everybody at the end of the last video, this video I'm going to finish up my discussion on just a couple of Florida state politics issues that we got going on since the election is 1 week and 1 day away. So we'll talk about a tiny bit more about Adrian Wiley, Libertarian candidate for governor. We'll also talk about Bill Wohlcipher, the Attorney General candidate for governor. The Attorney General candidate from the Libertarian Party. And we'll talk about a couple of ballot initiatives. And we will talk about a couple of other candidates, a congressional U.S. Congress candidate, a Florida state representative candidate, as well as a local candidate right here in Palm Beach County. So let's get started. Also, I almost forgot, let's go Leopards. We got, I don't know, less than 4 weeks now, I think. So definitely getting very excited, very pumped up for this game. So let's talk first about Bill Wohlcipher, who's running for Attorney General as a Libertarian. He's running against the incumbent Republican Pam Bondi and some Democrat. I don't even know his or her name. Quite frankly, it doesn't really matter to me. As I mentioned yesterday, one of the ballot initiatives is Amendment 2, Proposition 2, which deals with medical marijuana. Bill Wohlcipher, if he is elected Attorney General, as well as if Amendment 2 passes, Bill Wohlcipher would be friendly to the process of implementing the change in the law. I know up in New Jersey, John Corzine, the scum criminal from Goldman Sachs, he did one thing that could be a little bit positive. One of his last days as governor of New Jersey, he did sign medical marijuana into law. And Chris Christie, another criminal attorney from the Bush administration, current governor of New Jersey, he dragged his feet for 2 or even 3 years after Corzine left and after the law was signed. And finally, I think by now, medical marijuana has been implemented in New Jersey. But it took a lot of time and a lot of kicking and screaming from Christie, and most likely his Attorney General probably was part of that as well. The Attorney General definitely has some authority and some legal advice to give about issues like this, especially with how they're going to contend with the feds. So Bill Wohlcipher, he does support medical marijuana. He supports the passage of Yes on 2. I'm not positive. I would imagine he supports ending prohibition entirely, but I can't say that for sure because I've never asked him about that issue, nor have I read anything that he said about that issue. Another similar issue, he very much supports industrial hemp. He does have a thing, I believe it's his campaign manager is big in the hemp for water movement or campaign, whatever it is, and I haven't really done any research on it, but I've heard from a couple friends that apparently growing hemp is very good for waterways, conserving water, stuff like that. Good for the environment. In addition to being good for the economy, you can have people growing hemp and manufacturing and producing it into clothing and other goods. And instead, right now in the U.S., we have to import it from Canada and other countries, which is totally ridiculous. We should be able to have those good jobs right here in America, growing it and then using it for manufacturing after growing it. What else? Bill Wohlcipher is very pro-gun, definitely strong on gun rights. He supports clarifying the law that currently Florida is kind of unclear on open carry. Right now, it's a shall issue concealed carry state, so as long as you meet basic criteria, you're 21 years old, you take a basic firearm safety class, an instructional class, whatever, um, the state has to issue you a concealed carry permit. Wallcipher, right on his campaign website, points out that concealed carry has actually been the exception in Florida's history, and as far as I believe, generally in common law tradition, both in the U.S. as well as maybe even Great Britain, that law-abiding citizens were always allowed to openly carry their firearms and their other weapons, but if you hid your weapon, if you concealed it, it was, mostly criminals would do that. So the fact that we have concealed carry permits, you need a permit to do so, it makes sense in that context, in that historical context. But Wallcipher wants to bring back open carry like we did have traditionally. Right now, the unclarity in the law, I don't know how to say that, but whatever. The reason the law is unclear is because you're allowed to openly carry a handgun or a long arm, doesn't matter, if you're on your way to or coming back from or in the middle of fishing, hunting, I think that's it. Maybe camping, I'm not quite sure, but definitely fishing and hunting. And if you're not going to or coming from or engaged in one of those things, you're not allowed to open carry, which is totally ridiculous. You can have two people walking on the street, same everything, almost the same person, but one is going to go to the dock to fish and the other is just on his way to work. The person on his way to work can't open carry. That's very unfair and it doesn't make any sense. So Bill Wallcipher wants to allow for open carry, generally speaking, instead of just for people going on sporting events. What else? One other thing that I did hear him talk about a couple times and I read on his website is he supports clemency and pardons for people who are in jail who have not hurt or affected anybody else. So essentially for violating laws against the state, not against other individuals, violating arbitrary laws. So, and as Attorney General, he would have some influence in the cabinet. I believe the governor would need a few of the cabinet members to approve certain pardons. I'm not quite sure of the law, but I did read something along those lines at some point. All right, the video's running a little long here, so I'm going to hurry it up. But I do strongly support Bill Wallcipher for Attorney General. I've heard him speak a couple times, never in person, not like Adrian Wiley, but seen him online a couple times. I know some people personally who have met him several times and spoken with him. They believe he's the real deal. Based on what I've seen of him online and what I've read of him, I believe that he's honest and legitimate and doing this because he believes it's the right thing to do. So based on all that, I am strongly supporting Bill Wallcipher for Attorney General of Florida. Next, we have a U.S. congressional candidate, Lucas Overby, running in Florida's U.S. Congressional District 13. I believe that's on the Gulf Coast. And he's running against a Republican. By the way, he's a libertarian. He's running against a Republican, and there's no Democrat in the race. So it's going to be an extremely interesting race. I look forward to seeing the results, and I might even watch the poll returns that night for Adrian Wiley and Bill Wallcipher, as well as for Lucas Overby. Haven't decided yet. We'll see what I do that night. But I might even do one of these Yuengling videos again. We'll see. Lucas Overby, getting back to stereotypical libertarian issues, guns and marijuana. He does support medical marijuana, but he does explicitly support completely ending the federal prohibition on marijuana altogether. And he supports leaving it up to the states, just like the Constitution calls for, and of course the federal government is in violation of that. So he does believe that the effects of prohibition are worse than the effects of the drug itself and of use and abuse and all of this. He also, just like Bill Wallcipher, is a big proponent of industrial hemp. Obviously, if we ended the prohibition of marijuana, there would be very little reason to keep industrial hemp illegal, at least in the eyes of most voters. There would certainly be a lot of opposition to manufacturers, such as people who cut down trees and energy interests who wouldn't want hemp to be used for various things, but I think most voters, if marijuana were legalized, they would have no problem with hemp. And of course, it would benefit all of us as consumers because we'd have more options for energy and for paper and for clothing and for all this great stuff. Another issue is since he is running for federal office, U.S. Congress, he will have some say on foreign policy as one member of 400, what is it, 515 so 415 members of the U.S. Congress. He does oppose the perpetual war with which our country has been involved. He also very strongly opposes unilateral action taken by the president, whether it's sending foreign troops overseas to defend other countries or sending drone attacks to kill people that the administration deems are a threat without actually having proven it and without having gotten explicit authorization from Congress. And I forgot to mention the other stereotypical libertarian issue, but gun control. Lucas Overby does strongly oppose gun control. He supports the individual right to keep and bear arms. He wants responsible people to have guns and know how to use them. And I'll tell you, after the first debate, which I was actually late getting to a debate watching party to, for Lucas Overby, but the people whom I met that night, they said that Lucas seemed to have been a little bit weak as far as being a strong libertarian on certain issues, and he came to be a libertarian from more of the left side than the right side, if you want to say it that way. That said, based on what I've seen about him, I think he's a good libertarian. I don't think he's a leftist by any means, and if he was kind of left liberal at one point, I don't really see that now. Especially, there aren't too many people from that persuasion who do strongly support gun rights. Every once in a while there are. I don't want to put down all of them, but for him to be very explicit on his support for individual gun rights, I think says a lot. So I don't know much about him. I've never seen him speak. I've only read a few pieces by him. I reviewed his website, and I talked with some people who have met him. But I do endorse Lucas Overby for Congressional District 13 for the U.S. Congress seat out there in another part of Florida. We have two more candidates I want to discuss very quickly. Omar Ricuro, who's running for Florida House of Representatives in House District 100, which is Hollywood as well as a couple other areas down there south of Fort Lauderdale but north of Dade County. It might stretch into some of Dade County, I'm not quite sure, but it's the southern part of Broward County, south of Fort Lauderdale. Let me tell you, Omar is the real deal as far as being just a real person, down to earth. He has a working class job. I've met with him several times on the campaign trail. He does a lot of activism in the area, not only for himself, but he's been promoting the Yes on 2 amendment initiative. He promotes other local freedom issues, and he's very involved in his local community. Not necessarily in a libertarian way, but just in a he supports his community way. And I've read a couple pieces that he's written, and in addition to speaking with him one-on-one several times, and mostly because I believe he's honest, but also because from what I've seen about him, he seems to agree with most of the things that I would support. I do definitely strongly support him for Florida House District 100. He does support Yes on 2 for the medical marijuana. He is a strong believer in the individual right to privacy, and he's against the government snooping, and he supports Fourth Amendment rights in all of this. He opposes the implementation of Common Core in Florida, which the criminal Governor Rick Scott secretly and underhandedly got in, along with his Republican cronies in the state legislature. He very strongly supports civil rights, civil liberties, especially freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and also freedom for liberty and freedom for property rights and property owners and business owners. He really does want to pull down these regulations that are killing property owners and killing business owners. He wants to free up the economy, and he thinks that, which is what I think, that if you free up the economy and allow people to peacefully conduct their business, that the economy will be able to get better to the extent that it can, given things that are out of Florida state legislature's control. And for those reasons, I strongly support Lucas Overby. I'm sorry, Omar Rakiro, although I also support Lucas Overby. And then I think the last person I want to discuss for just about 30 seconds, Carl Dickey, who's running for Soil and Water Conservation Board in Palm Beach County. I actually got a revised sample ballot in the mail today. I guess there was some sort of an error. I'm looking for it because I forget what seat he's running for. Here it is. I think he's running for seat 3 for the Palm Beach County Soil and Water. It's actually Group 5 he's running for, and it's the only race that's being contested. He's running against who I believe is the incumbent, Eva Webb. The Palm Beach Soil and Water Conservation District administers about $200,000 or $300,000 of money that they receive from the state every year. And I know Carl. I know he's an honest guy. I think he will definitely help with conserving the environment and conserving water, as well as conserving the hard-earned tax dollars of Palm Beach County residents. On that note, I'm going to finish up my Yuengling. And just one last note, I did confirm that I will be coming up north for the Lafayette-Lehigh football game on November 21st. I believe the game is the 21st. I will be coming up the Thursday night before it. So I will be home in Montville, New Jersey for most of Friday. I might go to the city for a little bit. We'll see. But I'll be around Friday. And then Saturday is game day. You guys all know the plans as I explain them. We'll be, a few of us will be with a few of my dad's friends at his office in New Jersey. And we're going to tailgate behind his office. And we're going to take a bus to Yankee Stadium. And we're going to enjoy the game. Let's go Leopards, beat Lehigh, and we'll see you in the next couple days. Peace out.